Hello friends, this is Priyanka, CS Priyanka from Priyanka's channel, and after a long time I'm here because during this situation it's a very bad situation. We are at home, stay at home, don't go outside, do online classes. Okay, so today I'm here because I would like to explain on a topic that is lifting of corporate veil from corporate law, Companies Act. Because on demand, many of my students, friends demanded that this is one small topic, short topic you can say, that is lifting of corporate veil from Companies Act. But the thing is, if any question comes in exam that what you will write, if they are asking a short note on lifting of corporate veil, then what to write? We know veil means curtain, and lifting a curtain means a lifting of means from the, usually the court break the corporate shell and leave the curtain and find out the who did the fraud or like that. But this one line is not enough for exam purpose. So today I would like to share one document relating to this topic, lifting of corporate veil. So my topic is lifting of corporate veil. Uh, you can see clearly I added one picture, that is shareholders are standing in one side, other side it's a corporation, and in between them there is a corporate veil. Corporate veil means company's curtain, means whenever you are searching for someone, officer or shareholders, you can lift the curtain and can find it out. Next is concept of corporate veil. Point number one, company is an artificial person created by law having a separate legal entity. Separate legal entity means company is having a separate legal entity, that is company is distinct from its members, shareholders, directors, employees, whoever is working under the company. So actually we treat company as an artificial person. There is no difference between company and a living person, because only the difference between company and us is that they are non-living, we are living, we are having lives. Other than that, company is having its own identity. That's why we call them as an artificial person. So we are having, it's a one of the feature of the company that we can file case against company directly, or else we can sell a property to in the name of company itself, means to a company itself, means in the papers company's name will be written, not its shareholders name or director's name or any representative's name. So that's why we always treat company as an artificial person. So it's have a separate legal entity, so it is totally separate and distinct from its members and shareholders. Now, though we are discussing about the topic lifting of corporate veil, so if you apply this lifting of corporate veil here, it means that there is a veil or curtain separating the legal entity of the company from its members or shareholders. This is the first point. Second point is, when any fraudulent and dishonest use is made of the legal entity, the individual concerned will not be allowed to take shelter behind the corporate personality. Maybe a individual concern, that individual concern may be a shareholder or a director. Director can be of any types, executive, non-executive, anyone, or an employee or any key managerial person. If they are dishonest enough and they are doing any fraudulent activity in such company, then the this lifting of corporate veil will be applicable. So what they will do, the court will come, they will break the corporate shell, and they will find it out who are the person, officers in default. That means they will find, they will lift the curtain from in the front, from the means in the front of company, and they will search who is the specific person in default liable for this activity, fraudulent activity. So in during that time, this lifting of corporate veil will be applicable. Now come to the third point. Court can break the shell of a corporate veil and will apply the principle of lifting or piercing of corporate veil. The court will make the members or the controlling person liable for debt and obligations of the company. So, friends, let us take one example. For example, think a director is one of the person who knows everything, who takes a lot of decisions in a company, but though he don't have that right to implement. But think a director is profit cooking in a company or doing some fraudulent activity in a company, or director is contravening the provisions of the Companies Act or any other authorities act. Now, during this situation, if due to these things, the outsiders like creditors or other persons are facing any losses or any problem, so they usually they will file against the company or in the name of the company. So now during that, why the company will take the liability for a single or particular person? So during this time, this lifting of corporate veil will become applicable. What will happen this during this time, the court will come to the company and they will search or they will identify that specific concerned person who is actually in default or who is actually liable for such debt or obligations. Okay, and that person will be liable for the same, not the company. This is the concept of lifting of corporate veil. As per law, corporate veil can be lifted under two provisions, or 2 points are there. Corporate veil can be lifted. One is under statutory provisions. Second one is under judicial interpretation. Now, before going into detail, I would like to explain that statutory word means a legal or a law, means whatever is written in the act, the provisions, those provisions are known as statutory provisions. Secondly, we called it like under judicial interpretation. Now, judicial comes from the judiciary. Who are the judicial bodies in our country? Like Supreme Court, High Court. These are the judicial bodies. But judicial interpretation means what they interpret. Means they interpret one situation as per law. That is known as judicial interpretation. Come to the first point, that is statutory provisions. Statutory provisions mean when actually this lifting of corporate veil can be done under statutory provisions. There are some points. For example, non-compliance of requirement of incorporation. Now, what do you mean by incorporation? It's a formation of a company or a registration of a company. Now, if you, while forming a company, if you don't follow the actual or proper incorporation rules and provisions as per Companies Act 2013, then we called you as a non-compliant. You are coming under a non-compliant company. So in such situation, you contravene the provision. During this time, we are going to search the, not we, the courts are going to search who is that person behind the company is liable for this default. So this is one of the point under statutory provision, that is non-compliance of requirement of incorporation. Secondly, misdescription of the name. Misdescription of the name means usually whenever we choose the name of the company, we fix the object as per that. Now, for example, like we fix the company's name something pharmacy limited. So pharmacy denotes relating to some medicines and all, but if we do the business of different like clothing and other than medicine and all, that means we call this, it's a misdescription of the name. That means whatever name we have given, that is having no link with the object of our business. So if we do such things, that is also during that time also lifting of corporate wealth will become applicable. Thirdly, fraudulent laid off business. Obviously, if any person in concern or any KMP means key managerial person means do any fraudulent activity, or if fraudulently if they lead the business, then also we during that time also lifting of corporate wealth will become applicable. And finally, holding and backup organizations. Holding and backup organizations means whenever company becomes holding company, whenever we call the company is a holding company, whenever that company is holding at least 50% or more of shares in other company. So in such situation, what happened to associate company or subsidiary companies are linked with the holding company. In during this time also, if any fraudulent activity happens, we will apply lifting of corporate veil, or lifting of corporate veil will be applicable to find out that specific person from holding company or else from associate company or else from subsidiary company who is means behind this fraudulent activity, means who is a specific, means that a specific person who is there behind this fraudulent activity. So these are the statutory provisions. During this time also, this lifting of corporate veil becomes applicable. Now, one example is there, it's a case law, Guilford Motor Company versus Horn. So see, try to understand. In this case, Horn was appointed as a managing director of Guilford Motor Company under an agreement that he shall not solicit away the customers of the company. So what do you mean by solicit? Solicit actually means, for example, like you are forcing some person to do some fraudulent activity. Instead of that, you are offering some monetary or consideration to that person. That means you are buying that person in exchange of consideration. So that person will work according to you. So this is actually illegal in a corporate. So here also happens in this case, Horn was a Horn, that person was appointed as an MD of this company and under an agreement, and in the agreement itself it is written that he cannot solicit any of the customer from the company. It's clearly mentioned in the agreement. But Horn formed a company which resorted to solicitation in violation of the contract. The court restrained the company. So what happened? Means though agreement is telling he shall not solicit away any customer of the company, still Horn formed a company which actually do all these activities and which leads to violation of the contract. So the company, the court restrained the company. Restrained means restricted, banned or seized the company. And last point is second provision, judicial interpretation. We already said judicial body means Supreme Court, High Court, and they are totally independent. Okay, independently they can take decisions. Now here we actually say court. Court is usually do the judicial interpretation. So second point is judicial interpretation. It's telling the court will impose personal liability on the members, shareholders and directors of the company under following grounds. So what happened, whenever court will judge according to the circumstances or situation, and also they will refer the law. Law means statutory provisions. Now what will happen whenever the lifting of corporate veil will become applicable? The inspector or the court will impose a personal liability only on that specific person, not on the company. Okay, so the person who is actually in default, okay, that person will be liable for such activity, personally liable for such activity, not the company. So court will impose such personal liability on those person like members, shareholders, directors of the company, okay, on the under the following grounds. What are those grounds? For example, character of the company. Character of the company means how the company is, the company's rating, the company's object, company's turnover, company's profit, company's corporate governance, everything will be taken into consideration. Character of the company. Mind, I have given the name of the company something else, I'm doing the business of something else. From these things we can judge a company's character. Okay, we can judge a company's character on the basis of debt, obligations, loans, activities. Okay, all these things will be coming under the character of the company. Second point is for the benefit of the revenue, how much revenue they are earning, whether they are doing a business properly or not, whether there is a profit or not, whether they are filing all the forms properly within the specified date prescribed in the provisions of the act or not. These all will be taken into consideration by the court during judicial interpretation. And thirdly is fraudulent conduct, and also they will also take into the consideration that what are the fraudulent conducts or activities already happened in such companies, who did it. All these things will be taken into consideration under the judicial interpretation. So thank you friends, hope you will like my video. Hope you will be benefited from my video. For any query or for any demand, you can write in my comment section. So bye.